We're rolling. Welcome to the REI Rookies Podcast, the Real Estate Investing Rookies Podcast, episode number 55, where we invite you to join us on our journey towards financial freedom using the power of real estate. I'm Josh Koth, and we wanted to play an episode of another podcast called The Grind. Jack and I were guests on that, and it had a lot of great content, so we figured we'd throw that episode up here on our podcast and let all our listeners get some tidbits out of this. So check out Josh and Jack guesting on The Grind podcast.
Yeah, we've got Jack and Josh from Valley Property Partners, REI Rookies podcast as well. So Valley Property Partners is a investment company in the Fargo-Moorhead area. They basically started probably a couple years ago. Been buying houses, flipping houses, and also keeping properties as rentals. Believe you guys just bought your 43rd, right?
Actually, as of 2 days ago, 44th now.
Boom!
Dang.
44th in what, year and a half? Under 2 years, right?
Sure? Just over 2 years. 2 years as of January. Yep.
2 years. So badass, and they've got
that's unbelievable.
So and they're chronicling their journey on their podcast, REI Rookies Podcast, which is fantastic as well. So, and you guys would kind of dive into a lot of the stuff that you're going through, the tips and tricks, the techniques, the failures, the successes, all of that stuff through the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, basically we decided we were going to chronicle our journey as rookie investors, right? So we said, let's start a podcast. And actually we just finished our 52nd episode. We've done one a week. So we just concluded our first year of podcasting, kind of just detailing that journey and hoping to help other rookie and newbie investors out there get started and get over some of the fear and just push forward and take action even in the face of fear. So that's kind of the goal of it, is to help people out that way. So check it out at reirookies.com.
That's the best, man. You know, you know what's so funny is, and obviously we were very grateful, Josh, to have you on the show 6 months ago. And I think a lot of people need to hear that. And meaning they need to hear that two totally normal dudes, or, you know, just any normal people. It's like, listen, like, come on, you can do this. 44 properties in frickin' a year and a half or two, or under 2 years. Like, people would hear that and they go like, no way. And I in the kind of when we were talking in the pre-show, I brought that up to you. I said, like, I tell that story, like, as soon as someone complains, like, I have no idea, Joey, how I could buy an investment property, you know, and they say it like that, like, investment property? No way. And it's like, really? Well, these guys did 44 of them in 2 years, you know, and then it's like, but isn't that the truth though? I mean, I love how you guys chronicle that.
It's really all about mindset. I mean, once people get hung up on things like, well, I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have that, all the reasons why it can't work. And for us, it's all about the mindset. Once you decide, how can I make it work? Then it's just a wide open highway.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, by the way, how did you, Jack, both of you guys, how did you meet? What is your relationship?
Yeah, well, we actually met at a large corporation that will remain nameless. And Josh and I actually...
You guys work together?
Huh?
You two work together, huh?
We were cubicle mates.
Yeah.
Oh,
in fact, I trained him in.
That is the best.
I trained him in on the role that I was doing at the time. And
I'm just picturing Office Space, the movie. I don't know why.
I mean, it really was.
We did a lot of TPS reports.
Yes.
So many.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best.
So we would actually spend our lunch hours running numbers and talking about everything from storage units to mobile home parks to single family homes. We were already planning our escape, if you will.
For how long?
Awesome.
How long before you actually got started were you starting to have these conversations?
Well, the tipping point actually happened when I took a full-time employee job, and about 2 weeks later, Josh, including the remaining 26 other members of the team, were all let go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Within about a month of that happening, I decided that this corporate job was probably not as secure as I thought it was.
Right.
And I bought my first duplex.
That's cool, man. So wait, going back, so you guys, the dreaming part though, how long do you guys think you were, dreaming or, just crunching numbers, doing what ifs? I'm just curious.
It's probably like 6 months of, I had read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, had read Cash Flow Quadrant. So I had sort of been already red pilled, and the curtain had been opened in my mind. Can't go back. Yeah. I was already wanting to, and then plus, you're in a cubicle. I mean, this building we're in was literally a cube farm to the point where you had an address. Like your cube was on streets, was Y and cube number 23 or whatever. I mean, you had to have an address to be able to find even where it was. So it was the prototypical bad soul-sucking cubicle type job.
Yeah.
You pop up like a gopher and see where everybody is, like a prairie dog.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we wanted to get out of that as much as we could. It wasn't very fulfilling. We were just basically on the phone and sending emails all day. And I knew it wasn't long-term going to be fulfilling, and it wasn't going to meet my goals of retirement. And really, honestly, it was a combination of that job and then also running my retirement calculations with my financial advisor. And I had been ahead of the game by most people's standards. And she was still saying things like, well, according to these calculations, well, you can work longer, and you can reduce your lifestyle when you retire, and maybe you better start setting some more aside. And all those things were just making me go, no, this isn't going to work. I need to find another path.
Yeah, that's huge, man. I what's funny about that is the reason I ask about how long you guys were, quote unquote dreaming or talking is that I think there's the two pieces, right? I mean, there's dreaming, there's talking, and then the one missing element that most people just don't have is some kind of, I just wanted to use the F-bomb there, but some kind of effing execution, even teeny tiny. It could be anything. It could be you guys maybe calling your first lender, like, how do I fucking buy an investment property? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you guys, you got 6 months, you got a year or whatever of like, you're getting the universe to conspire. Like, you guys are generating the energy, and the only thing that really needs is that spark, right? Of like, beep, I'm doing something. And then it steamrolls into the next thing. And that's why I'm always curious as to how long someone was talking about the thing before it happened.
I always feel like too, it's almost like walking up to a cliff, and then, people just analyze, they think, but I mean, really that first step or the first deal or buying your first one, it's like jumping off the cliff and you don't have a parachute on and you're just like, well, I'm going to figure this out. Yeah. And so that's scary for a lot of people, and it's hard for them to actually take that step. But, me and my whole team getting fired, it was kind of a blessing looking back, because it said, well,
absolutely a blessing.
And now it's like,
where you guys have come in the last 2 years.
Yeah, and there's no excuse. And I was going to purchase anyways, but then, I mean, it gave me the flexibility to be able to look at properties during the day. And, I had another business. I still have a photography studio too. So that gave me the flexibility, and then I could still survive on that income while I was starting to purchase. And then Jack was still in the cubicle for a while. Actually,
Roddy.
Nobody puts Jack in the cubicle.
It'd be kind of interesting though, because actually he just turned in his resignation of how long has it been now?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. So now we're both working full time in the business. I think it might be interesting to
I didn't know
talk about.
I thought you were full time.
No, he quit that job. So now we're both doing real estate full time. So that was another huge leap, to actually, leave the alleged safety of that corporate job, which in our IT industry was considered the pinnacle, to actually quit that for the hope of being able to generate enough income doing real estate.
Jack, I'm curious because that's an interesting piece of the puzzle. And I do want to get into this daily success report, but I want to ask you quick, Jack, what held you back?
Well, the uncertainty. I had been in other businesses that weren't exactly a stellar success. And the concept of putting my family through that turmoil again was just, the anxiety was through the roof.
Well, of course.
So we actually, one of our podcast episodes was recording my anxiety attack when I submitted my resignation.
Oh my gosh, that's the best.
I need to listen to that one. What do you remember what the
we do have that on recording, and Josh has me on video, and so he plans on pulling that out a year from now.
Yes,
oh, man.
That
is hilarious.
I knew in the future that was going to be gold. So when we were out in LA getting some mentoring and at a real estate conference. He was pacing around the hotel room. I could see it on his face. He was, I just can't do it, And I'm
sweating.
I was recording him going, we're going to look back at this video a year from now, and you're going to say, what was I worried about? And that's always been my attitude.
But like we just said at the beginning of the show, right? What were you worried about last year?
Exactly.
Right? You generally can't remember most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Joey, you mentioned we're going to get to the daily success report, but actually, weirdly enough, that is one of the big linchpins that got me to make the jump. One of those things that I feared was when in my previous incarnations, you kind of question or you kind of flounder on, okay, I'm gonna do this full time. What do I do on a daily basis?
Yeah.
What am I? And then people kind of just stall out. They don't know where to go, what direction to do, what actions to take on each day.
Yep.
So having this actually sitting next to my keyboard every single day, there's no doubt what I'm going to do every single day. And my day is completely full.
Yep.
And I'm working my damnedest to hit 100 points on the sheet on every single day. And what we're seeing is that compounding interest on these actions. Last year we had set a goal of 12 transactions in that year's period, and we hit that goal. We exceeded that goal. This year, because we're both doing this full time, it's not a 1 + 1 = 2 scenario anymore. And we keep joking that it was going to be a 1 + 1 = 3. No, it's multiplied considerably since then, and we've exceeded last year's goal in the first quarter of this year.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
It's all thanks to that daily success report, as far as I'm concerned.
How did you get
we
to
have a lot of automation and tools, but that daily success report is always the default, something that we fall back on.
Yeah.
So was one of the reasons why you went to the daily success report, was it specifically because you felt like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have something to gauge my daily activities and track my daily activities, so it feels like I'm actually working at a job as opposed to just kind of floundering through the day? Because I don't know many investors that do what you guys have done. I know a lot of investors like myself and some other colleagues, friends of mine, that have purchased a lot of rental properties, done flips and things like that, but it's really just a fly by the seat of your pants. And that's kind of how I do it too. If a deal comes by, I'll look for deals, but it's really up and down. So, some weeks I'll look every single day. Sometimes I'll go a month and I won't even have looked at all. And I feel like most people that are in this business that are doing it part-time, you got the part-time investors, are doing it more like I am. So what was the report something that you guys decided this is what we have to do because we want to take this serious as a business? Or was that something you found after the fact?
Well, we've known from the beginning that consistency was key. Like whenever I talk to new investors, and they say, I can't find any deals, I always say, how many offers did you write this week? And if they say, well, I haven't found any good deals, they didn't write any, then I say, well, there's your problem, right? So, we knew consistency in offer submission is our number one, thing that will determine whether they're going to be successful or not. If we write 10, 20 offers a week, we're going to find deals. If you just do that consistently week after week after week, you're going to stumble upon the guy who's willing to sell his property at a discount if you just keep doing that. It doesn't matter the source, MLS, off market, wherever you find properties, if you just keep those offers going.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the things that contributed to this was Lee Rogenkamp, the guy that works for you, Jason, and writes all our MLS offers. He said he sets aside a part of his day for lead gen. He's like, for an hour and a half or 2 hours a day, it's like, don't bother me, I'm doing lead gen. And that consistency, and that's why he's a top performer. Yeah, that was one spark. And then also we got some mentoring from Matt Terrio, who's a big real estate kind of guru out in LA for Epic Real Estate. And that's actually where this daily success report came from. And he just basically said, my most successful students are the ones that do this every day. And Jack and I are both just nerds. So if he says that, we're just going to submit to the process and do it. We're not going to try to outsmart it and say, well, we can do it better. We literally just downloaded his exact
Don't reinvent the wheel, right?
Don't reinvent it. We just download the exact sheet and we just say, okay, it says, you got to make this many contacts, you got to write this many offers, and you get points for each thing. And try to hit, if you hit 100 points a day, you're going to do deals. That's what he said. So that's our goal, is for each of us to hit 100 points a day on the sheet.
Submit to the process.
Yep.
I just want to say that there's our quote for the beginning of the show right there is submit to the process. Copy shit. You know what I mean? Copy stuff. And it's funny because when you talked about consistency, I've probably said this quote a million times, and I don't even know who said it. I know it comes from Diana Kokoska, but she probably stole it. Consistency compounds, so does inconsistency. So it's like, hey, here's the thing. One thing that I try to even teach the team is, because we lead generate, or the team culture we have is lead generate for 3 hours every day. We call it 15-3, 15 minutes script and role play, 3 hours of lead gen. Now, guess what? That shit's hard. 3 hours a day is hard. But you know what's so funny is now it's just a habit. I've been doing it for years. And what's so funny about it is when I talk to people about this and just talk to why do you do it? How do you do it? Well, first of all, how, it's a choice. That's it. I mean, that's it. It's a choice. And what's funny about it is all you're doing is finding opportunities. And I happened to be last night, before this show, of course, I'm reading through Jason's email about your daily success report, and I'm looking at the report, which I was already familiar with. And I'm also reading, which I'm almost shame on me for not reading before, is Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller, right? And I'm on the chapter. I don't know if either of you guys have read it, but I'm on the chapter talking about where do you find opportunities? And it's I'm reading that chapter and I'm looking at this daily success report. I'm if these guys haven't read the book, they're the same brain as Gary Keller or something, because this is basically what he talks about in frickin' Millionaire Real Estate Investor. Hey, just do this and do it daily. Maybe it's an hour in the beginning. Maybe it's 3 hours after you get the hang of it. You know what I mean? Is that not, but all it's finding is, it's just digging through and finding opportunities.
Well, and with lead gen, it's a numbers game. So you have to talk to a certain amount of people per day in order to generate the amount of deals you need to generate the income you're looking for. And it's just, you got to work backwards from how much money do you want to make? Okay, well, we can make X amount per deal. So in order to find X amount of deals, we need to talk to X amount of people. Yeah. It's literally that simple. So you just got to fill up that funnel at the front end with that gross amount and whittle it down from there. So, in order to do that, like Jason said, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. If successful investors say you need to focus on, and when you look at the success report, the highest number of points you can get is escrow closed, followed closely by offer accepted and offer presented. So it heavily weights offers being produced. So you're spending your time doing the things that are going to generate the income.
Yes.
And I think we've been, Josh, you could probably speak to this a little better, but I think we've, over the past, since I've gone full time, we've submitted at least one offer every day.
That was my next question, is what's the goal? How many offers a week is the goal, or month?
Well, we try to hit 100 points on the sheet. And
how do you get to that?
And a lot of it is just you get a point for every time you contact someone. So if you made 100 calls, that's one way you could do it. You get 5 points for an offer accepted, 4 for an offer presented. So, and those are the highest points you can get. Everything else is 1 point.
Oh, so you try to hit 100 points every day?
Every day on the sheet.
Every day.
Both of us try to hit 100 points each.
Oh.
So as a team, we're hitting 200. So that means we probably talked to 50 people and wrote at least a couple offers every day. And to keep that consistency, if you just do that, and I tell new investors, if you just make sure you write an offer a day, I don't care how ridiculous it is, just pull something off the MLS, have your favorite realtor write you an offer, do that every day. There's no way you're not going to eventually stumble upon somebody who's willing to sell you their property at a discount.
So Matt says right on this epic sheet, do the right activities consistently with persistence and you will get your desired results.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's huge.
And one of the things from, I believe it's in Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I say this, and I've been saying it for 14 years, is Dolph DeRoos. He says the deal of the decade comes along about once a week. So when I started doing investing in real estate, I had to remind myself of that. I used to do, in the last 3 or 4 years, I've really kind of slowed down a little bit which shame on me, which is really stupid. There's no good deals. And as I watch Jack and Josh buy 44 properties.
yeah, exactly. There's no good deals.
Everything's overpriced. There's no good deals. Shame on me. So, but the deal of the decade comes along about once a week. Dolph de Roos.
That's so true. And if you're submitting a ton, well, for us, we look at it like the deal of the decade comes along every 50 offers. So how quickly do you want to get the 49 out of the way so you get to the 50th one that's actually going to be a deal?
Yeah, that's so true. And by the way, if anybody, I should toss this out there for Facebook Live viewers and for anybody listening to the show, if you do want, because I'm assuming you guys, since you stole this, that other people can steal it. So, if anybody does want, email us, grindpodcast1@gmail.com. We'll send it out, and I think, what I'll do is I'll probably just snap a picture and post it on Facebook Live as a comment.
Yep.
Because it is a really cool tool to find the deal of the decade, because they're out there. And all it is, you know what it's doing too, that you guys are doing that is really interesting. And I just read, I think, I can't remember exactly where I read this. I think it might have been from Principles from Ray Dalio, that book. And I could be wrong, but I read so much shit. And so I have no idea where I heard this, but it's, hey, make it a game. If you really want to enjoy your job and enjoy your job, enjoy your project, enjoy your fucking podcast, whatever you want to do, if you want to enjoy it, make it a game. You guys just did that, right? I mean, it's, hey, what's my score? And as partners, or if you are part of a team, like, hey, where are you at? I'm at 52, or, whatever. You're basically, he said that. Make it a game, because you got to figure out the solution. You got to find the deal. You're going to write an offer a day. You're going to get 1 million no's. You go for 20 rejections, whatever that even looks like. I think more people, here's the thing. People are just, I don't want to say people like I'm saying literally everybody's miserable, but if you're miserable at your job, it's because you're not in a game. People, you like playing games, right? You like playing board games. You like playing the basketball game. Why? Yeah. Because there's a score. It's fun. There's a challenge. There's a problem to solve, right? Well,
and with the points thing, and I think the one of the big pieces and the reason they do it is because when you win. So you could talk to if all you did on that day and didn't write any offers, you talked to 100 people and they all told you to go F yourself. That you won because you got 100 points, right? You get to the end of the day, you hang your hat, you say, I kicked ass today. That was great. Because know it's all a numbers game. The next day you're gonna get 3 to 5 yeses.
Well, I can't tell you how many days I've been at like 95 points, and I was like, well, damn it, I stick around and make the last 5 dials just so I can hit the 100 points, and then I can call and gloat to Josh saying, how many points did you get today?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It is gamified for sure because it's competitive. And that's another way that being partners multiplies exponentially. Because if I was sitting here by myself trying to hit 100 points, I only am self-motivated. But if I know, okay, I got this accountability because he's going to be giving me crap if he gets 100 and I only get 70 or something. Mm-hmm. So there's a competitive spirit there. And also just want to let everyone know if they want to grab a copy of this, just go to dailysuccessreport.com. And Epic Real Estate, the podcast used as mentors and that we listen to a lot, He gives away the success report for free. You just got to throw your email in and he'll send it over. So dailysuccessreport.com.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's, I mean, it's just phenomenal. Cause now how does this, okay, so dive into this real quick cause we got a little bit of time left. So how does this for you guys, how does this look daily? So, okay, obviously we got you guys up nice and bright and early to jump on the show. So, okay, your day starts. How does this actually look? Like, how do you guys use this?
We literally print it out. So we just have it, I don't know if my camera will adjust, but it's kind of bright, but
a little bit. Yeah.
It's just a grid. And, it starts with planning your day. You get like 1 point for, reviewing your strategy for the day. And then it's just all about activities that will generate leads. So that's all reaching out. If you send direct mail pieces out, you only get like 0.05 points.
I love that.
Yeah, it doesn't give you very much credit for direct mail because you have to send out a ton of that to get adequate responses. Mm-hmm. And then it moves down to one thing it emphasizes really nicely is sending out thank you cards. So if we do like a meet at a seller's house, we'll send them a thank you card, a handwritten thank you card afterwards. We get 2 points for that. So you really have to do a lot of activities. It's hard to get 100 a day. I mean, it is tough. So, I mean, Jack's done it a few times. I've hit it like once. I mean, it takes a lot of effort. One thing that's interesting too, though, when we were in our cubicle jobs, and we remark on this all the time, we'll look up here at the office and we'll go, holy crap, it's 4:00 already. But in our cubicle jobs, we used to be like, oh my God, it's only 10. I mean, the days fly by when you're competing and trying to get to these 100 points and you're just doing these activities like a machine, and you don't even, it's not that bad. I mean, and the other thing too is you get used to the uncomfortable activities. Like we get a lot of pissed off people responding to our marketing, just, because you catch a lot of tuna in the net when you're hunting for grouper or whatever. I mean, you get some pissed off people that don't want their house stolen from them, according to them.
Of course.
And, after you talk to enough of those, you let it roll off your back. You don't even care. So, I mean, you're just cruising through.
I call them crabbies. I love me some crabbies because, in a way I laugh it off. And, I actually used affirmations. I use affirmations a lot of self-talk, talk to myself. And, if I'm doing cold calling, for example, and I get a crabby, I'll literally say out loud, like, I guess I can't help that person today. And then I don't know, for whatever reason, me saying that, like just the rejection thing is like, it's next. It's like, I can't help that person. And whatever. And I've actually shared that with my team too, because it's like, hey, listen, somebody's going to be crabby. It just means you guys weren't, whether you believe in universe, God, whatever, you guys weren't meant to talk to that guy right there. He's probably a really nice guy. Who knows? Maybe 5 minutes before that, he learned he had the full body cancer. You know what I mean? And then you called him.
Right. No, that goes to one of our core tenets. We strongly believe you can never say the right thing to the wrong person, and you can never say the wrong thing to the right person. Those people you just can't talk to, or in many cases even reason with. There are some of them I will, I'll make them a dial. I'll call them back and just apologize for causing such offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then once they realize that, first of all, I'm in Fargo.
Yeah. How can you go wrong?
They usually settle down.
Yeah.
Because frankly, it's those people that you can kind of chat with a little bit later. They may not be motivated now, but from a year from now, they still have my card.
Yeah.
We had somebody that called. I believe you talked to Josh. Called off one of their direct mail pieces, and they couldn't help him. He actually sent him to our team, and now we're listing his house. This just happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
that's a great story. And I love that being able to pass referrals on to real estate company that we love, and just being able to help you guys and give you guys basically a free listing, and then help the person out as well, get their house listed so they could sell it for full retail price. I consider that a win all the way around, even though we didn't directly profit from it. It helped them out and you guys out. And I know that'll come around, reciprocity style.
Yeah, for sure.
You definitely do. I think you do. You directly profit, right? I mean, you're right. You don't get, you're not getting paid or whatever on that particular deal, but you definitely directly profit. And it's funny because in that chapter last night from Millionaire Real Estate Investor, it's very much like that. Like, hey, referrals and all of that stuff and helping each other out, helping other businesses. We are very reciprocal beings. Whether people like to admit it or not, human beings are reciprocal beings. Like, Josh, Jack, Jason, if you guys showed up when I was roofing my house and you guys just all showed up and were like, hey, we're here to help, right? It plants something in my brain like, God, I got to hook these guys back up at some point. And it might not even, you might not think that, but then all of a sudden you see something on Facebook that, oh, Jason's moving. And it's like, oh, dude, it's my opportunity to pay him back. You know what I mean? Like I gotta hook him up. That's just the way that I think us as beings operate. Most people, you got to do it.
I got to tell you this story. So speaking of Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and I was going to bring this up because we just had a Millionaire Real Estate Investor seminar in Fargo. Josh was actually a panelist at the seminar, and it was fantastic. And thank you again, Josh. That was great. You did a fantastic job. 2010, I went on a ski trip to Wisconsin Dells with my family, and all of my investment properties, a lot of them, I was struggling. I was losing money. It sucked. And it was kind of one of those things where I had a few of them up for sale. I was like, maybe this isn't for me. It was the 7-year itch, pretty much from the time when I started investing. And I had this book, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and I wasn't an agent yet. I didn't know who Gary Keller was, didn't really care, but I read this book. And there was right at the beginning of the book, he tells a story about how he was in Florida. There was a deal on a condo. He knew it was a deal, but he was kind of a part-time, investor at that time. He wasn't taking it seriously. He wasn't on. He wasn't focused. So he basically passed up on a deal that he could have turned around and flipped and made $100,000 without doing anything. And at the same time that I was reading that book, probably 2 to 3 months before that, the exact same thing happened to me. I was just hemming and hawing about a deal because I was, it was a deal in Grand Forks. I think it was an 8-plex. I passed on it, and I wouldn't say I passed on it. I was like, this is going to be around forever. It's off market. This guy's old. He's not talking to anybody else. So his name was Roland. I still remember his name, the owner. I looked at the property. I was just I didn't have my financing together, but I could have probably made $200,000-$300,000 on the property the second that I signed that purchase agreement. Mm-hmm. That was my wake up call. And I remember having a conversation with my wife. I said, well, I can either sell everything and get out, or I just go in balls deep and just go forward. In the next 6 months, I bought like 6 properties, basically jump back in full time in investing. It's interesting that one of the big reasons I ended up coming to Keller Williams was because I read that book. And that takes us all the way to 2018. The only reason we're sitting here today is because I read that book, right? Because that's the only reason I ever met Joey, because I came to Keller Williams. So a lot of things have happened
Best day
in my
of your
life. A lot of things have happened, cool things have happened in my life and I honestly believe my life would have taken a different direction had I not read that book. So when they talk about it, life, it's really all about the books that you read. Well, this is a prime example of that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's huge.
Really
that's
cool.
huge. Now, by the way, you guys, how, speaking of that, how many opportunities do you think in the past, maybe you don't do it as much now because you're a little tenured, you're mature in your investing, or, at least more mature, so how many, maybe in your first 6 months or whatever, do you guys look back and go like, holy shit, we lost out on so many opportunities because we were dum-dums, or we were knuckleheads, we didn't know. Do you ever is there a couple that like really shine out? Like, oh yeah, we dropped the ball on that.
Oh, definitely. Well, when you're not doing follow-up, right? And that's another huge piece that we've worked on implementing is I can't even think of how many deals passed by because I just didn't have a CRM, I didn't have a tracking system. And, you just went by and you didn't follow up. And I mean, the key, the fortune is in the follow-up, right? So, I mean, most people are probably not willing to sell you their house until you talk to them 5, 6, 7, 8 times, right? So if you just made a soft pass to somebody, they rejected your offer, and then you said bye-bye, you're never going to get that house. Mm-hmm. But if you come back to them, 6 months later, or 5 or 6 touches later, your chances go up exponentially. So, I mean, in the first year and a half, almost 2 years, I mean, a ton of deals probably fell out of our grasp just because of that. The follow-up sucked.
Yeah.
So now that we're working on the follow-up piece, that has really helped a lot.
Yeah. So, I actually don't see it as lost opportunity. I see it as our return on that investment was our education. So I just see it as a cycle. We learn, we adjust, we move forward. We're just constantly. So even though, we missed out on that opportunity, it allowed us to tweak our approach and our processes. And in the end, it might have been an expensive, when you take a look at the lost opportunity, expensive education, but it still has gotten us to where we are right now. So I can't say that was completely a lost opportunity.
If more people would just live that way, right? I mean, because you're right. There's one way to look at, or I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it. Lost opportunity, or like that's a good learning lesson. As long as you take it and go like, internalize it. I mean, half the battle, I think, is just awareness, right? I mean, just being aware of like, ooh, I was a knucklehead there, and here's the lesson to learn. Like, okay, moving forward, I will not do that again, or I will whatever, so granted, expensive education. I love, that's just way better way. Oh, that was an expensive education moment, like that's a really good way to,
instead of beating yourself up about missing the opportunity, you just say, no.
Yeah. Well, and
to learn so we don't miss the next opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay. So, the number one thing, wrapping up here a little bit, what's, for people that are listening, and I do have a couple key individuals I want to send this show to, and I want to send them your podcast just because they're people I'm thinking of now, just new investors or people who used to invest and they kind of stopped or whatever. But I mean, what do you guys, we love the daily success report. I think that's phenomenal. But what really is, 44 properties in under 2 years, anybody would say, except for Grant Cardone, because he's a jerk. He'd be like, 44? That should have been like 300.
Should have been 440.
Yeah, like
the 10X rule.
10X rule, exactly. So except for
perfect.
Grant Cardone, because that is phenomenal. What is the couple of things that you could just say to people that are they're on the cliff, right? They're sitting there on the cliff. They've talked about it. They talk about it all the time. They've read all the books, but they just haven't bought a property. We all know these people. They're probably, they have the education. They don't have the execution. What do you tell those people when you're talking to them at the water cooler? What do you say to them?
I say, number one, consistency is above all else the key. So you need, and don't worry about the financing piece, because the main reason a lot of people don't invest is, well, I don't have the money. I need to save up the money. If you find a true deal, people will want to participate in that deal and profit from that. So you'll be able to raise the money. So I say, figure out your deal standards so you can quickly analyze properties and then start making offers. And if you do that and set a number you want to make, offers you want to make per week, if you just start there.
Yep.
And execute on that, success will follow.
Well, would you even, going along with that, and Jack, I want to propose the same question to you, but going along with that, it's funny, my very first multifamily investment property, I wrote the offer at 5 a.m. It was mostly because I was pissed, and I wrote the offer at 5. I was pissed because I was sick of talking about it. I'm like, screw this. I wrote an offer 5 a.m. I wasn't even pre-approved, and I submitted it without the pre-approval letter. I'm like, here we go, it's gone. And I remember my wife woke up in the morning. I was like, hey, I wrote an offer on a multifamily home. She's like, what? Are we ready for that? I'm like, I don't fucking care if we're ready. I'm sick of talking about it. But, I think that, Josh, that's a phenomenal piece of advice. Jack, same question. What would you say?
Yeah, I would completely agree with Josh. The analysis paralysis has just run rampant through the real estate investing community as far as I'm concerned. We host the local real estate investing meetup, and there's people that join time and time again who's, I don't know, some of them are still looking for their first deal. You need to be moving forward. Josh and I all the time, we will sit here across from each other about to submit an offer on something, and we'll stop even to this day, hesitate and go, well, where are we going to get the money for this? Screw it. Submit the offer, because like he said, if you find a true offer, the money will come in one way or another. Somebody will want to participate, and you'd be surprised how many people in your immediate network actually are sitting on some money that can help you acquire.
Yeah, it's so true. It's shoot, fire, aim, is really what it boils down to. Yeah. And it's empowering. It's scary. But I think, obviously we all look back at that first one, right? And when you really did it, it is scary. But holy shit, is it also just like, it's almost invigorating. I'm sure when you guys look back at your very first offer and you're just like, oh God, I'm doing this. Like, maybe, and who cares? It doesn't even matter if you got it, you didn't, it rejected. It doesn't even matter. It's just the fact that you do it. And so I always encourage people. The advice I give them is like, hey, you might not think it now, but when you do this and make this decision, you quit this job, you do that, whatever it even looks like, is like, whew, it's almost like, I know you got some adrenaline flowing, and you got those endorphins going. So I'm sure you guys experienced that for your first one. So I appreciate sharing the advice. Now, as far as, Okay. So people reaching out to you, talk about, because we got to kind of wrap up here a little bit. Talk about the podcast, how people would reach out to you, even people in Fargo listening, or are you guys investing outside of Fargo?
Yeah. Mostly in Fargo, but yeah, I mean, we'll analyze any deal. That's kind of our mantra too.
Yeah.
We'll run the numbers on anything that we could potentially make money off of. We'll look at it at least. But yeah, we're typically buying in the Fargo-Moorhead area here.
Okay. All right, cool. So people getting a hold of you, talk about the podcast, where they can find that. Cause I think your podcast has got to be that's a phenomenal source of info for people getting started in this.
Yeah. We're very transparent, and we just talk about different issues and kind of share our journey. And it's just at reirookies.com, or you can just search for REI Rookies on iTunes or any of the other places to find your podcasts. Check out valleypropertypartners.com. That's our website. If you want to reach out, we love sitting down with people. I mean, we could talk about this stuff all day, right? Mm-hmm. So we love chatting with new investors. We really subscribe to the, attitude of abundance. We don't think like, oh, we need to keep all this information to ourselves, or all the deals are just for us. I mean, I think we can't buy them all, and nobody can. So we're happy to help other investors get started as well. And I believe in that reciprocity will come back to us. And at some point, they'll maybe want to sell us a deal or vice versa. And we look at other investors as allies, not competitors. And, we've had people refer us deals because of that attitude, and we've happily bought them and vice versa. So I look at ways, the community is ways we can really help each other. So we try to focus on that.
I was going to say, I'd throw out too, if you're local to the Fargo-Moorhead area, we host that Fargo-Moorhead real estate investing meetup group. I know it's a mouthful, but we actually, Jason and Lee have been kind enough to let us use the facilities there at Keller Williams to host that on a monthly basis. So that's the first Monday of every month. And then we either tackle a topic. Last night or this last week, we talked about how to approach and talk to sellers. So that was a really great discussion. And then we have rotating group of guest speakers coming in on different topics.
That's awesome.
And you guys are gonna release this show on your podcast as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we sure.
So we're basically doing a twofer. So anybody that's listening
nice.
that doesn't know about the grind, make sure to check us out on Instagram, Grind Podcast US. Tunes, it's just the grind. We have the white background, red logo. Where else? Facebook, Grind Podcast US. We're on Twitter, but we haven't. I don't think we've posted anything. So
yeah, you guys have been in my. You've been passengers in my truck multiple times a week, so thanks for that.
Yes, yeah, you know awesome. What? No, when Josh, when you said when you used the word subscribe, you were like, "Hey, people need to." Just a second ago, I said, "Wait, Josh, you mean people need to subscribe to the grind? Hashtag the grind? No, but you know what? Hey, here's the thing, man. You guys are awesome. Really, really love that you hopped on here, because I think a lot of people need to hear this message. There's a lot. I mean, not right. 99% of the people are talking. They talk. And they actually, you know what? I think people truly.
It's not only real estate investing.
It's not real estate investing.
Life.
It's anything.
It's life.
And
take
people
action.
truly want to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what sucks about this conversation, is that a lot of times people, we say talk, and no one does anything. But you know what's funny is they really want to. Like, in their heart, they're just like, God, I want to do this. And they just need someone behind them. Literally, it reminds me of, what is it? The movie 300. Remember when he boots that guy and he says, this is Sparta? Everybody needs someone behind them, like literally booting their ass off the cliff. And to realize that it's a very empowering thing. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And we appreciate, since this is going to be part of your show too, we appreciate you guys having us kind of weirdly on the show.
Yeah. Awesome. Rise and grind. Be fearless. Live your dreams.